Anybody want an olive?
Nope.
They're stuffed.
There's stuff with pits for me.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
The only one I have had a pit in it.
I just want to have an olive before we start.
Okay, eat it away from the mic, please.
We're not recording yet.
We are recording.
Oh.
Yeah, when it says red.
All right,
There we go. And all right, here we go. Episode 32.
Wow, 32.
32. Fresh off JonBenet's birthday. Hope you guys aren't too hungover.
Yeah, I had a real good time that night.
What a party.
Cried a lot, drank a lot, had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, moving on to bigger and better things. We're going back into our investigative mode.
Ooh.
You know, we're looking at the Smit family.
The Lou Smit family, he came into his wife, made babies.
Yep.
They grew up.
That happens, yeah.
And then babies started having babies too.
Mm-hmm. Famous detective Lou Smit of the Ramsey case. He worked for the DA's office and then later the Ramseys.
Yeah.
So we're going to be digging into him, and then, you know, post-mortem, his family picked up the mantle, so we're going to be digging into them too.
He didn't really work for JonBenet though.
No.
She never paid him.
I mean, I believe
She was
I believe he thinks he did.
You think
He thinks like indirectly he did, but
Oh yeah.
Well, you guys ready to get into it?
I'm glad he solved the case. Yeah.
wow.
I'm ready.
What are we
I'm
doing
ready.
Here we go. All right, well, hey, I'm Bobby Pavlovsky.
I'm Teddy Roddenberry. This baby here.
And this is
JonBenet
Today.
Final touch.
Dear God.
So apparently Dance Moms is back. Thank you to Teddy.
Yeah. Dance Moms is back, and it's gonna. I mean, honestly, it's exactly what the country needs right now to help heal.
Well, I mean,
some of
that's
our
a hell of
wounds.
a distraction. Those bitches were cutthroat. That was
Oh,
the kid
yeah.
they're
So-
talking about.
All right, that was from the
got good
new
points.
season of Dance. It's called Dance Moms: A New Era on Hulu.
Yeah, it's no longer Abby Lee Miller. It's this chubby white lady.
I don't know who these people are.
She dances. You know, dancers get fat when they get older, Bobby.
Sure.
It's just it's a natural recurrence.
Yeah, I love that lady because
Gravity.
I skimmed through that to get that thing, and I love that the lady just kind of just yells and she's like, "Hey, do this with your leg," and I'm like, "You're not doing."
Yeah, no. She
Right.
can't do it no more.
But those moms,
she watched too much Grey's Anatomy.
And that says it's episode 8, and this just came out, Teddy. So how are you skimming through this?
Oh
so
no! I
quickly?
mean, I watch it all the time at home. I'm always watching it. Well, I watch it from the neighbors play it, and I watch it from the window.
Which neighbor?
Yeah, from Gretchen. I see it from Gretchen. You know, she's just right around. She's like perpendiculars.
Wait, how though?
What do you mean?
Like how? Like
You're gonna
how?
formulate
Like,
a question, learn how to open your fucking mouth and blow air, and ask me what you're trying to ask me.
Like-
you think I'm going over there with her? No, I'm at the apartment. I'm still watching, making sure nobody's gonna rob us.
Wait, what? Like, so you're watching it from where though? Like
From the bathroom.
the bathroom. Why
You
in the-
can see
why
her
in-
from the bathroom.
from my bathroom?
Yeah, from your bathroom. Yeah,
Oh my
Donna.
God,
No.
Teddy.
So no. I can see her. I talk to her from there. I'm like, hey, hi, Gretchen.
Does she answer?
Yeah.
No wonder that
She's
lady.
got dementia. She's got parrots. It's fine.
No, that lady is so scared of you.
No, she's not.
No, she
she's
thought
not
you were a
scared
sex
of me.
offender.
Yeah.
Like, now it all makes sense. You've been peeping through her window. Like, okay.
That's
Shut
all-
the fuck up, Donna!
That's a lot of time.
Shut up with your presuppositions about my relationship with Gretchen.
You're 8 episodes in. You've been spending 8 episodes just watching it in the bathroom through a window.
I light matches. I throw them in their window until she gets back on the Hulu. It's on Hulu.
Well, these
They're
moms,
on Hulu, and I
these
watch
moms
it.
are also just absolutely terrible. They just they kind of talk shit. Like it's awful. Here's the little girl after she
It's
does
cutthroat.
after she does her dance routine. Yeah, they're talking shit. This is about a 6-year-old girl
I know.
No,
Like-
that's the world of beauty pageants and dance competitions. It is cutthroat. And these girls, honestly, they should just starve themselves to death or kill themselves if they're not good enough. Because everybody's got something they're meant to do, and if you're meant to do that and you can't do it right, what good are you?
Teddy, you're meant to be a dance mom in another life. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm gonna be a dance mom
You're of the
sometime in
mind
the
that
future.
not
I
everyone
hope
needs a
nobody
trophy.
gives you children to be able to do that. So, little girl goes on to do this dance, and again, this dance is supposed to be inspired by JonBenet. We're gonna cut this down, or we can't use this.
She's
music
so
anyway,
inspirational.
so, Here we go.
Fine ain't gonna cut it in Florida.
That is absolutely not true.
Horrible bitch.
She chose.
Fine will 100% cut it in Florida and is excelling in Florida. So.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
So is
like
Floodwaters.
they picked that girl because she was the only white girl on that little team. Did you see that?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, all the
Why you
little-
gotta make it about race?
I mean,
That's not true.
they,
Why you gotta make it about race? Are
did
you a
see the
racist?
little girls? No.
She was just competing against an Asian girl.
She was
but-
playing a blonde
like-
white girl. So she was a blonde white girl.
I didn't watch the other episodes to know the context, whether or not this little girl's been a part of it before, so I don't know if we should jump to a race
Listen,
thing.
there's a lot of racist things in this world, in this mad country, like the Olympics and things like that.
Right.
Paris, France. But Dance Moms, a new eras, is not racist.
I don't think.
Stop
we
saying
needed
it's
this.
racist.
I don't think we needed this. I'm
Well,
just
I
saying.
think.
I love that this is your point from it, though. We're
Yeah,
talking about
that's a
John
stupid hill to
Benet.
die on.
Anywho,
Such a fucking.
this is supposed to be a Lou Smit episode, but Teddy. This is supposed to be a Lou Smit episode, but Teddy saw this clip. And
I was moved by it.
Yeah, and this is new, so it's just
JonBenet
weird.
was mediocre. This girl's mediocre. She perfectly, I think, emulated.
She's not mediocre.
JonBenet.
Why is JonBenet mediocre?
JonBenet did not know how to dance.
Yes, okay. Well,
Yes.
No,
Six.
she didn't know how to dancing.
she-
And this girl
you
didn't
don't
know
have to-
neither.
You don't have to dance for your pageant. She sang. That was a talent.
Well, that's the thing. But she still had choreography, and she wasn't good at it. Neither was this girl. That's
She
all I'm
stole
saying.
her choreography
but it
for
made
her
it feel
song?
more authentic, Bobby. You guys are missing the point. You're not seeing the trees
Yeah,
for
you're
the
missing-
forest for the trees.
Oh my God.
You're
My
getting
God.
hung up on me telling you that this girl. She choked. She screwed up the routine. She was not good. I mean, you're not clearly not Dance Moms.
So you're on the side of the coach.
No, I am on the side of the coach, but I'm also on the side of
Glow.
the coach. Probably doesn't even realize that when you pick JonBenet, who may have had big lofty aspirations, but like on the stage, she was mediocre. Okay, that's why her parents had to make their own pageants so that she would win. And so there's definitely something to be said of anybody who's trying to portray JonBenet has to have that same level of substandard, unremarkability, sort of not quite star quality.
I think she was right though in the commitment. She needed like more of a commitment to it because that thing where apparently she was sent off to do her makeup, and then she comes back, and then that lady makes that crass joke that she looks like JonBenet after she was murdered.
What they need to do is they need to get a boy on the team and give him a big old flashlight and chase her.
Oh my God, that should be part of the performance. It should be like a two-person dance performance. That would be. That's
Show
actually
the
a good
actual
point.
story.
So, Dance Moms, a new era. I do not recommend watching it.
No,
Unless you're not
Unless
paying
you're
for
prepared,
it and you're
unless-
watching it through the bathroom of window. So
it gets a little foggy, but that's okay. And she don't mind. She don't care. She likes picking up the matches that I threw in there. Her apartment. It only cost the file one time, but she's old.
the lady, Gretchen,
No, Gretchen.
Gretzky.
Gretzky.
That's Gretzky.
Yeah.
Gretzky.
Gretzky?
One more.
Anyway.
Just one more instance of Teddy and elder abuse. Fantastic for the books.
Bobby, you want an olive?
No. Speaking of elder abuse, moving on to the subject of today's episode.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Detective Lou Smit, Dirty Harry, the legend, as he's been talked up, and we're gonna dissect to see if whether or not he's as legendary as he's been, touted.
Just like his geriatric ass could always down a bottle insurer, he could always ensure that he was going to put himself in the role as the person responsible for solving this case, even though there's been nobody ever arrested.
Okay, well, I wouldn't.
He
go
did a
that
great
far.
job until
I
you
wouldn't go
got
that far. I don't think he's a terrible person or anything.
I didn't say he
But
was terrible.
he is
He's just mediocre.
He's a very religious person, and that's going to be a big topic in here too. So we're gonna show a clip here from Perfect Murder, Perfect Town, and this is Lou Smit meeting the Ramseys for the first time.
Oh, cool.
And this is actually as they've described it happening.
It's
by
like
the
a
way.
movie time.
So this is, by the way, again, this is how they've said this actually went down.
Okay.
How do you do, Miss Ramsey? I'm Lou Smit.
Hello?
Patsy, this is the detective that Alex Hunter hired. Remember, he wrote to us.
Oh, yes, it was a nice letter. I've thought a lot about it, Mr. Smit. Have you made the progress that you were looking for in finding the killer?
Not as much as I hoped, but there's always new information coming in. If we stay here talking in the street, we're going to get hit by a car or a camera. Can I suggest you join me inside my van? Of course, if your lawyers would object to that, I guess we could talk another time.
Do you really think you can solve this?
You solve a murder with evidence. If the right piece of evidence exists, I'll find it. Every day I stop here and pray for JonBenet. And every day I ask for God's help in solving this crime.
Amen.
Would you say a prayer with me now?
Lord, I pray for courage to face our own fears and to take us where others will not go. And through it all, dear Lord, please be by our side.
Please, dear God, please.
Lord, let this nightmare soon be over.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Would you like to follow me into my van?
And then they get in.
Yeah, and then they pray with him. But then that's where they went him over, because that's the moment where Lou Smit basically was like, look at these religious folk. They even include that little shot where it's like, he looks at John when he starts making that prayer.
It was so weird.
John's like, Lord, let the prayer, like, please let this nightmare be over.
It's like
Not
the
let's
first
find
time.
my daughter's killer. He never says it, even when it's a dramatic reenactment of him praying in a van with Lou Smit. Stupid.
Justice for him, you know?
Yeah, I can't get rock hard all the way to the tip anymore until this is done.
So that was 1997 when he finally met the Ramseys, and then
Okay.
he had been hired again by the district attorney's office.
That's the same year Hercules came out. The Disney movie, Hercules.
Yeah, sure.
It's got Danny DeVito in it. He plays Phil McGonagall.
Oh, JonBenet didn't get to see that.
She never did get to see it.
No.
I didn't see it in theaters
She
either.
probably did get to see this is. So when Toy Story came out in 1999, they did a little pre-video, pre-movie thing where they showed the making of Hercules, but it was like pencil sketches and things.
Oh,
like
I
that.
saw that.
Oh, like,
Remember that?
like not Pixar.
So maybe she
Not
got to see the
Pixar.
making of it. is what
She
you're
got to
saying?
see making.
That's even more disappointing.
She was like, I want to go on Mount Olympus
No, 'cause
right
what if
now.
She got excited, yeah.
I know, it's so
Well,
devastating.
so again, that was 1997, but
Right.
Lou Smit had already retired from being a detective at that point, okay? But he got brought back into the case because he just couldn't stand being at home.
He still had suits in his closet to wear.
And so we're going to go back and do a little profile of, some of his earlier work, okay?
Oh, okay, Bobby.
Let's take a look here at an intro to him with this interview with Katie Couric.
I just can't turn my back on what I see to be the truth.
In Colorado law enforcement circles, Lou Smit is considered something of a legend. Boulder Sheriff's Department Detective Steve Ainsworth.
He takes the evidence and sees where the evidence goes. He's a tenacious investigator. A lot of people say he's the best there is.
Wow, he's amazing.
Was that Geraldo?
Huh? No.
Like Geraldo.
She introduced him. He was a detective, but I
just
forgot his
another
name.
Catholic trying to.
Forgot his name
Just
immediately.
I mean, you can tell all these guys are Catholic because they respect the patriarchy so much.
Like,
Because that's where the patriarchy began, was with the Catholic Church. A lot of people don't realize that.
Right. That's great. So, one of the major famous cases that he was known for just before getting hired with the JonBenet case was the Heather Dawn Church case.
The best there is, his supporters say, because of his 33-year career helping to solve more than 200 murder cases, including the killing of Colorado teenager Heather Dawn Church. Smit's investigation cleared the girl's father, who had been a suspect. An intruder was convicted of the crime.
Okay.
So that was like a pretty famous case back in the day. This girl that she was missing for a little bit, and then they finally found a body, and they initially suspected her father.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who did it?
This guy. We're gonna get to that.
Oh, okay.
So the Investigation Discovery did a little documentary, but also reenactment with not Chris Christopherson playing Lou Smit.
No, Chris Christopherson was too busy giving it to Miss Piggy.
Yeah, we're not doing that again. But this was the intro to Lou Smit in that case for them.
I'm going to introduce you to Diane Lou.
How you doing? I'm Lou Smit.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
By the time Heather Church's skull was found, Lou Smit had built quite a reputation regionally and even nationally for his investigative efforts.
The one very critical piece of physical evidence was the latent fingerprint. What made that so significant is that it had not yet been identified. The former investigators had checked the state system in Colorado and did not find a match. that's where a lot of people would have stopped. But with Lou, that's where he started. He said, how many different automated fingerprint systems are there in existence? And between the United States and Canada, there were 92.
92.
92.
Which is a number.
There was more databases basically to go off of is what they're saying. And Lou famously basically got credit for being like, no, we're not stopping. Like,
We're
we need to
making more
check
phone
all
calls.
the databases and stuff.
Okay, good for him.
But according to an August 6, 1995 Colorado Springs Gazette article, and Lou Smit even gives up the credit, by the way. It was really this, he was a basically like a crime scene tech. His name was Tom Carney, a crime laboratory technician. He immediately thought of the prints. He's like, we know those fingerprints had to be from the suspect. A better approach, he figured, would be an exhausting mailing of quality photos of the prints to every police agency with an automated fingerprint identification system like the FBI system. AFIS compares fingerprint images electronically. AFIS computers aren't interconnected, but each one, blah, 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 blah. So Carney, basically, long story short, that was Carney's idea.
Oh.
Carney's idea, it was his idea to do this whole fingerprint database thing, which again ended up leading to a match. It led to a Louisiana prison system match where they found the prints belonged to a Robert Charles Brown.
Robert Charles Brown in Louisiana prisons.
And what's really interesting with this case too, though, is that in 1992, Dorothy Allison, a noted New Jersey psychic who has worked with the police across the country, called the Friends of Heather Dawn Church Foundation. She said, I can tell you the killer's name right now. His name is Brown, but not like the color brown, not spelled that way.
Oh, the psychic lady from New Jersey knew the guy's last name, and that probably had an E at the end. Wow.
And Lou Smit on the psychic stuff says, considering all the publicity detectives figured they'd hear from psychics, some detectives scoff at psychics. Others are skeptical, willing to listen. I'm not going to disregard them, said Captain Lou Smit. Sometimes psychics come up with things you can't explain, and sometimes they come up with things almost too hard to believe.
Well, I know. Like Jimmy Carter used a psychic once too to find like a downed military aircraft, and he said ever since that account, like when he was president, when that happened, like he was like visibly moved, like he could never ever like disregard that. Like he had the power of the United States military to find that plane. And that's interesting that article was released on JonBenet's birthday. In 1995, which was the year Toy Story came out.
Oh my God, was it? Oh my God, it was August 6th.
August 6th.
1995, holy shit.
Everyone, if you haven't seen the JonBenet birthday special, if you haven't listened to it,
please watch it.
Watch it, listen to it, share it with your friends, eat some cake. But her birthday is August 6th.
Yeah, but it's not too late to celebrate a birthday.
No, you can always celebrate
You can always go back to the mindset we were in and encapsulate.
And speaking of 6, Bobby, real quick, just because it's advanced shape, I was doing some mathematics just a second ago, okay? I've got an app on my phone that lets me put some numbers in.
Yeah, we all do.
And it would calculate it.
Yes.
That Lou Smit solving 200 murders in 30 years, that's 6.66 murders.
Whoa, Teddy.
So,
would JonBenet's murder solving that change that number?
Yeah, probably would. It would make it no longer a devil number. And Lou Smit, you better get right with the devil. He could be in hell right now. Maybe he needed to solve her case in order to not go to hell. I'm just saying. I'm just theorizing.
Just spitballing.
So
I'm not Catholic.
So that the Robert Charles Brown, that suspect in basically the murder of the Heather Dawn Church.
Yes.
That huge case that he always got credit for.
Lots of people with 3 names.
He's in numerous documentaries, gets credit for this. I've seen so many of them. But
It was Art Snyder.
No, his name was Tom Carney.
Tom Carney.
He was a crime laboratory technician. So kudos to you, Tom Carney.
Good job, Art. Whatever your name is.
Yeah, we're not going to make an episode about you. But then going back even further, one of the ones he made his names on. One of Smit's first successes as a detective was in the 1970s. His work led to the arrest and conviction of 2 serial killers, Michael Corbett and Freddie Glenn.
Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers.
Nope. Michael Corbett and Freddie Glenn, who killed at least 5 people in Colorado Springs.
Oh my God.
Including Karen Grammer. Grammer worked as a hostess at Red Lobster on South Academy Boulevard and was robbed and kidnapped. Her abductors raped her and slashed her throat. They dropped her off near an apartment building on Arvada Street. She desperately tried to ring a doorbell, but died on the doorstep of one of the apartments.
Oh my God. So you mean tell me that there is a crossover movie episode of Halloween Nightmare
those people.
where Kelsey Grammer gets his throat cut at Red Lobster Boulevard.
Karen Grammer and it was Michael Corbett and Freddie Glenn.
Oh,
But
Karen Graham.
it wasn't the Karen. Yeah, no. All right, so Smit stood over her body.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the good part.
Donna was confused.
But like, damn those cheddar biscuits.
You're giving the info a little too fast.
Sorry.
I'm
yeah.
trying to catch up, Bobby.
Sorry.
I'm
So
still thinking about
Smit, listen
our
to this, listen. Smit stood over her body. Again, he took a quiet moment. Again, he made that commitment. Each day thereafter, Smit drove to the place where she died. He'd think about the case. He asked the apartment manager one day if he could name the meanest tenant in the building. The manager said it was Freddie Glenn. Smit closed 5 cases.
Oh my God.
By asking the landlord who the meanest tenant was.
Wow.
Who's the meanest asshole on the block?
Oh, that'd be Freddie. Hey, he's always causing trouble.
He found him. Wow.
Case closed.
What an amazing investigator.
It's not like, I mean, like, wow. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. No.
No.
He just got, I guess, lucky.
He's like, you know what? Let me go ahead and ask this one more question.
Just keep going back to the murder scene. Like maybe somebody's going to drop off another body or whatever. Like.
Right. Like, yeah,
Yeah, you
okay.
never know.
Wow. Amazing.
So Smit took some time off, basically to. Well, we'll get on that. But basically,
He took some time off from maternity leave, postpartum. He had some depression. Women go through it all the
Wait, no,
time.
here we go.
Stop judging.
I got it right here.
Well, I think it was hard for him to really make a decision to join the team on the Ramsey case for the DA because, my mom had not been doing well for many years. She had struggled with cancer. And so I think once he got past that and my mom, gave him the okay to do that, he just completely jumped in with both feet, as he did to every case. He was a very meticulous, very thorough, gifted detective, and so he jumped in on that case right away.
Lou Smit, wife had cancer, but, duty calls.
Yeah.
Can't be bothered with stuff like that.
He needed to do another case. He needed to solve another case.
And just because I want to show him his this one too.
Lou Smit was a really legendary detective from Colorado that was brought in early to investigate the homicide.
Oh, hi, Jar. Oh, look at Mr. Man starring in his own little things like he's a confessional for a housewife show.
Yeah.
Mr. Man.
So he joined it 3 months after the case. Lou Smit did.
Lou Smit
He was
joined.
hired again by the district attorney's office. And again, people really need to keep this in mind that he wasn't tasked to he wasn't tasked to investigate the case objectively. He was hired by the district attorney to reevaluate the case from a defense perspective.
Oh.
Okay. So, in other words, his job was to look for evidence that supported the intruder theory.
Okay. Before the intruder theory was even made public.
Exactly. As he was the one that basically really is the one that ran with it. And here's him on Katie Couric on the reasons of what he was going off.
Everybody's on Katie Couric.
Katie, the evidence shows very strongly that there's evidence of somebody else doing this, and it's credible evidence.
That evidence includes this open window, this garrote, this suitcase, this footprint, these possible stun gun marks. Each taken alone might not mean much, but taken as a whole, Detective Lou Smit says, it's an altogether different story.
Dates possible. Stungun marks. Katie Couric, what the fuck? Do you just regurgitate whatever they give you? They give you a little PR packet or something, and it's like, well, and you don't do a fucking 5-minute segment of what stun-gun marks even look like.
And so the window, we'll just start there, okay?
All right.
The window is with basically the fact that, number one, it was an open, when he even talks about when he first saw the thing, he's like, oh, open window. He's like, that's a clue. But we also know that the cops are the ones that opened it.
They opened it. It wasn't open
it was
originally.
closed. But it was broken. But then his other thing is that everyone keeps harping on this. And by the way, I've tried to look this up, and I cannot find this press, but they've been saying this all the time where a big thing of Lou saying was like, well, they always said that somebody couldn't fit through this window. I actually can't find any instance other than them always saying that, where it's like the police say nobody could have fit through the window.
Right.
And boom, look at me fitting through the window. That was like he made a big show of making videos.
It's not like you're in the bottom story of like a New York fucking brownstone or something where there's like, a tiny little grate or something, or like a tiny little window that's like Stuart Little size or something, And I'm not saying Stuart Little did this, but I'm saying like this is a regular fucking window. I mean, the basement, it's big. In the window, I mean, it may not be like 6 feet, it may not even be 3, but it's still, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it opens like it's got a little handle, right? And I'm like, you know, people can open that window easy, and there's another window right now, right? All right.
Well, and then there's also the whole thing with, well, then the problem is though, he's also, for me, is that he's always insisting that the police say that like somebody couldn't fit through that window. That was always a big part of his case. They didn't publicly say that. So if it was through them privately telling him, I don't know why he's saying that, and that's just one person's theory, but they never was like saying that.
Yeah.
But then there's the problem with the cobwebs, which he dismisses as basically, he basically says that it could have, you know, basically the cobwebs could have been strung sometime after the murder.
Stop it.
And it's like, are you fucking...
It was
like, that's how you explain away the cobwebs?
Yeah, right.
The garrote is basically, I believe, the testing of the thing, and also the fact that there's no rope. They couldn't find the matching rope in the house.
Right.
The footprint we now know is Burke's.
It's Burke's footprint.
Burke's footprint. The suitcase we're going to go back to because they talk about this later on the podcast too. But then the stun gun, okay? That was his other huge theory with the stun gun theory, okay? He even basically had proposed to the Ramseys at a point where it's like, hey, let's, you know,
wanted to marry them?
Let's exhume him. Exhume her body.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to see the marks.
And we'll check the marks right now, and we'll clear this whole thing up.
Yeah.
And then that could have, you know, exonerated them right there. But they didn't want to do it.
They used the stun guns in the pig farm, remember, Madonna?
Oh, God.
And the marks did not look like that.
They don't. And
They didn't.
And that's the
No,
thing.
you're right. They were different.
They were different marks.
And that's also because Air Taser, too, had to come out at a point in time and issue basically a statement saying that this is not what our stun guns do.
See?
They don't leave marks like that, and they also don't render a person unconscious.
See, stop getting your crime physics from Mel Gibson movies, Lou.
When you stun gun somebody, normally when they move, so it leaves multiple little marks. There's not just the two
Like one solid.
perfect marks.
Right.
Stop taking your wife's cancer medication, Lou. You're getting a little loopy.
But it feels so good.
Just debunking everything here.
Listen, he just, I mean.
Like real quick, like boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom,
And again,
boom.
Lou spent, you know, most of his time, you know, this is the thing, operating under these things, going through these other suspects, these intruder suspects, exhausting these things. In the deleted AMA with former Chief Mark Bruckner, who we've referenced before.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody had asked him, what is your opinion of Lou Smit and his involvement and conclusions in this case? Bruckner says, Lou was a nice man and very religious. I believe he became emotionally involved with the family, and in my opinion, this clouded his judgment to the point where he could not accept the possibility that the family was involved. I base this on numerous conversations I had with him. Originally, I wanted to rely on some of Lou's conclusions based on the evidence he was telling me about. More than once, I followed up on the evidence he was using to support his belief, and I found it not to be accurate.
Wow. And when I looking at that, I followed up on the evidence he was using to support, and it turned out not to be accurate. Which is like, okay, the whole thing with like, I mean, everything we were just talking about, the window, the stun gun, you know, just even the garrote. I mean, there's no fucking marks on her neck that look like, you know what I mean? Like she really was fucking choked with that thing. You know, it's like, and we know there was a crack in her head. But then the Ramsey family machine, in their more recent conversations with the press, just don't even acknowledge.
They leave it out.
They leave it out completely. You know, because you got reporters like Katie Couric who don't want to even do any follow-ups or try to challenge anything they say. They just want the scoop and to get the thing out there, get it as fast as possible so people can watch it and they can make money.
And they're not trying to get sued either. And it's important to point out too, the only thing that I think that like Lou did that in my opinion was kind of dirty in this whole case was the incident where he quit when Steve Thomas quit.
Oh yeah.
When that whole thing where it was Steve Thomas retired because he said that basically the DA's office wouldn't look at the family. And so Lou Smit, in order to, you know, get in the press and muddy it up, he retires and says he thinks that they're too focused on the family.
When he was working with the DA, which makes it then it's like, oh, okay, so even if I were to go in this route of like, Lou Smit, he's just a victim in itself because he's so stupid and like idealistic and innocent. You know, he's of another generation where men eat meat and their wives don't complain, whatever. He fucking played those political fucking tabloid, fucking sensationalist newspaper headline games with the best of them.
Right, just spinning.
And it's also who's booking Lou Smit with Katie Couric all the time? Same people that get Katie Couric and
it's Lin Wood.
It's Lin Wood.
No, it's Lin Wood.
It's Lin Wood.
He's doing it.
Lin Wood doing it.
So, you know, Lou Smit, up until, you know, his dying days, was working on this case. We got two clips here from two different documentaries that I think is just interesting to showcase.
Yeah.
This one is from the first one's going to be from the 2022 documentary, Suburban Nightmare.
Okay.
But just as DNA evidence exonerates the Ramseys and breathes life yet again into the case, the one investigator who never stopped searching for the killer passes away.
Lou developed cancer, and they tried to operate, but they decided it was inoperable. So he was placed in a hospice. His dying wish was, don't give up. You know, don't give up.
He worked on it literally to his death, and we're just very grateful for that.
When Lou Smit passed away, his family pretty much took this up as a cause.
His kids, in particular, his daughter, has teamed up with some other individuals, some other, former detectives, former law enforcement officials, to try and carry that torch forward of Lou in trying to find the killer or killers of JonBenet.
His family and a few detectives and I that retired would meet every so often. We'd go through his list, and we would attempt to obtain DNA from people, sometimes with their consent, sometimes surreptitiously, and test that against some of the genetic markers that Lou had acquired while he worked with the district attorney's office.
Lou's legacy lives on through his family and his business partners, his fellow homicide detectives. They're doing this for Lou.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Doing it for Lou.
Doing it for Lou. No, okay, so what you mean to tell me is they were collecting DNA. When they said surreptitiously, that means that they're like getting together.
Getting cans out of people's trash.
Yeah, they're
cans.
doing like an Ashton Kutcher punked kind of thing where they're like, oh, can you sign this package for me? You know?
It's like recording without someone's knowledge.
Well,
like, can you just take that shit.
And,
Like-
and how many times are you going to keep doing it when it's not showing up as the marker? It's not showing up as the DNA for no one.
Right.
He's so dumb.
Here is the list, the 2020 documentary about it. This is talking about him dying, and then it goes into more about that group.
I remember about the last 3 days, he had slipped into a coma, and the conversations would become one way, and I don't know if you could hear me or not.
It's very much an honor to be here to celebrate Lou Smit's life and to share my thoughts with you. I'm John Ramsey. I had the opportunity to visit Lou a week before he died. Remarkably, during that time together, Lou talked a lot about the case. He hadn't given up. He never gave up.
John Ramsey, you smug son of a bitch. Jesus Christ.
Speaking at that man's funeral.
Look at,
And he
hiding a
kept
smile.
smiling.
He's smiling.
And
He's
he's
always
looking
smiling.
good.
Can someone get him a Game Boy, please? God, I can't believe. He's like, it's all a game,
Burke's just
boy.
backstage on his Game Boy.
Burke's backstage trying to fucking
I
assault
wanna
some
go to this
Filipino
funeral.
worker. Yeah, no.
You're the one the guy who wasted his time. Shut up.
Yeah. Remember this guy who got added all this fake legitimacy for a press that barely, scours beneath the surface for any sort of supporting evidence to our claims, and this guy was so delusional, he was fucking doing this shit up until the day he died. Yeah.
Well, and then again, it carried on with his daughter.
When Lou Smit died, he passed the torch of the JonBenet Ramsey investigation onto his daughter, Cindy Mara, and she took it.
And he just said, I have a name. I want you to write it down. And I did. And he said, that's where you start. We'd be glad to pay that. We don't have that electronic report, so we would need Boulder to send it. After my dad died, a couple of us, our family, and then some of his old homicide partners, we just formed a team.
You want to go down to number 2, because that is an in-state one.
Yep.
What we all share in common is that commitment to fulfill Lou's dying wish, that this case doesn't die with him. And I think it's that devotion, that respect, that love for Lou is what keeps our team moving forward.
And that's what keeps our team moving forward,
And
Joe.
again, doing it. But no, they're doing it for Lou.
What I'm doing it for Lou, Joe?
They haven't said they're doing it for JonBenet. Both of them. They're like, they're doing
I'll do
it.
a little bit of it for Lou.
Even John knows. He's like, they're doing it for Lou.
Yeah.
Because some of them don't believe this, but
We don't want it to die with Lou neither.
But then, so in an interesting little raw interview with Cindy Mara, who's Lou Smit's daughter, it kind of sheds light on just what their home life was and what kind of father and stuff.
Okay.
I couldn't have been blessed with better parents, both my mom and my dad. My dad was warm, he was funny, he was charming. He taught us all a lot of, the morals that we have today is really from my mom and dad. And He was just a genuinely nice, humble man.
What was your relationship like with him?
We were very close. He was close really with all of his kids. There's 4 of us. And, you know, his work took him away a lot. I remember on a couple of birthdays in a row, he would be out of state, and I remember giving him a hard time about that. But when he was in town, he would come by, we'd go to lunch. We just had a very warm relationship.
Warm when it suited him. That's crazy.
Sounds like John.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Here, let me solve these dead people's things. But while my family's living, let me go ahead and not be there.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah. It's a running theme in some of the male figures and father figures in this case where, you know, everybody just made do with the fact that the father was
They're distant
kind of an
parenting.
absentee parent.
Like, yeah, they're just doing this. Yeah.
But now, hon, but we went out to lunch when he was in town after he got done sticking a cigar and hooker's pussy.
And so now we get to
motel.
Now we get to the podcast because it's apparently extended to the granddaughters. Because there was the List 2020 documentary where throughout it the narrative device is these granddaughters of Lou Smit and their podcast, The Victim's Shoes. Here's a little clip.
I think, yeah, growing up it scared me a little bit because we were the same age and, you know, same state and blonde hair, blue eye, you know, it was a little bit scary.
I remember thinking that I could not believe that this happened like so close to our home. You think that your home is safe, that this place is safe, and you just don't think that it could have happened here, and it did.
The murder took place sometime between 10 p.m. on December 25th and 5:30 a.m. on December 26th, 1996.
They know a lot about the case. My 2 girls, they loved their grandfather.
Our grandfather was a detective on one of the biggest unsolved murders in our generation, the JonBenet Ramsey murder. And with this podcast, we want to talk about the JonBenet Ramsey case from our grandfather, Lou Smit's perspective.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, Lexi and Kim.
Jessa. Lexi.
Yeah.
Well,
good job.
Again, we looked into this podcast before. It's like, oh, they must have done, you know, a bunch of episodes or whatever.
I know. I was worried that they would solved it before us.
No, they did 3 fucking episodes. That's it.
3 episodes of their podcast.
Split out throughout like the 1 year throughout the year they were filming this fucking documentary.
Yeah.
So it's clearly a thing where I think that the producers were like, it's too boring to have Lou Smit's daughter sit around with these retirees. Let's amp it up and be like, can't the granddaughters be doing a podcast?
Right.
Because it's a dog shit podcast.
It's not a real podcast. I mean, you listened to it, didn't you, Bobby?
I listened to all 3 episodes. It's like an hour and 15 minutes
play some
total.
clips of it.
We got it. So first off, the podcast is called The Victim's Shoes.
Oh, God.
And here's the reasoning behind that.
That's actually where we got the name for our podcast, so I want to explain that just a little bit. He had written a poem called The Victim's Shoes, and it goes like this. Shoes, shoes, the dead man's shoes. Who will stand in the dead man's shoes? The detective stands in the dead man's shoes to protect his interests against anyone else in the world.
Okay, stick with your day job, Lou. Wow.
Poetic.
It's not even victim shoes, it's the dead man's shoes.
And she didn't even give like any oomph to that poem at all.
No,
like,
this is the thing.
Shoes, the dead man's shoes. Like, I'm actually reading this for the first time.
Did you see that sheet of paper where she was reading off
block of fucking text?
That block of text, there's no formatting. And this is the thing. That's why these people, they're so fucking afraid of being proved wrong or whatever, because they have no style and they have no format to or organization to thoughts. They just have a stream of consciousness existence where they're just trying to memorize, and they wherever they heard it first, and someone who's supposed to be, you know, always telling them the truth or is also always knows better, they hold on to that, almost like Helen Hunt and Bill Pullman being pulled by an F5, but they're latching onto that pipe, you know, at the end of Twister.
And like within the first 5 minutes, by the way, of the first episode, they shout out the Smit Family GoFundMe.
Oh, they got a GoFundMe.
They have a GoFundMe, which is to basically, it's the JonBenet, Lou Smit's Family Searches for Justice.
Oh my God, they're searching for justice too. They have oh my gosh.
But we need money.
They need money.
That money is going to go to solving the case, right?
Well, here's what they say. Here's how they explain it.
And since Lou has passed away, the team has been able to clear a number of people from that list. However, the work is pretty slow because of the time and expense involved in locating somebody on that sheet and in annotating their DNA and then testing it. It can easily cost $5,000 to locate someone on that spreadsheet, collect and test their DNA. So their hope, and hopefully with our help, we're able to gain generous supporters who can support and donate to a GoFundMe page that helps them clear more names off of the spreadsheet and eventually complete the work that Lou dedicated so many years of his life to.
Oh, damn, I need some generous supporters. Our supporters, they're generous.
They are generous.
But they're not Ellen DeGeneres.
But, like, how much was that on there?
How much did they raise, Bobby?
They raised, they're up to $63,000.
Shut the fuck up!
$554.
They made all that money for all them people to get all that DNA tested, and they still haven't solved no murder. And who is that money going where it's supposed to?
Let's certainly hope so. They're saying it costs about $5,000 to steal people's DNA.
And people can still donate to this day.
Oh, and they still are. And
It's still active. Oh god.
And these before we get to the donors, the bulk of the donations, 40,500 of them, came from 4 anonymous donations.
4 anonymous donations.
Not like the group, not like the hacker group.
Not like all the people going like, not the people that Natalie Portman fucked.
No.
But you're talking about the people like, oh, I got $5 here, and you know.
Oh, the onesie twosies, the little bits.
Yeah,
and like the public donations on there, we got people like Jeff Ramsey, which is John's brother.
Jeff Ramsey's been donating to it. How much did he donate?
Yearly. Jeff Ramsey's donations $500.
Wow.
He normally keeps doing $500. And then we got Mike Bynum. Bynum and his wife. He was the lawyer who was the one that originally suggested the lawyers to John.
To the John Ramsey. Oh my God. How much did he donate?
Mike and Gina Bynum, $1,000 5 years ago. When
They
it first
donated
started.
$1,000.
And then we also have Michael Tracy, that documentarian we saw, who's the guy who was talking with John Mark Carr.
The guy who was the journalist who talked to John Mark Carr for 2 to 4 years in the same documentary, talking to people, the same documentary that's got John Ramsey and Mike, John St. Augustine.
Yeah, we just saw him earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. $50.
$50 on his
salary?
his fixed income. That's real big. That's good.
So, but they haven't updated since August of last year.
Oh wow. So the documentary aired when?
Which one?
The one that ABC interviewed the daughters.
Oh, that was like 2016 or something?
That was in 2016?
I think it was a while ago. 2019. 2019.
Bobby.
I'll put the correct date in there.
Okay, well, but that doesn't help me with my point.
Yeah, what's your point though?
Well, my point is that documentary happened a while ago.
Right.
And then that there is this GoFundMe that was still being updated, so thus they were still having access to it and still using it.
5 years, yeah.
It was 5 years.
So it was 2019.
2019
was the documentary, because that's when they started donating.
And over the past 5-6 years, they've gotten over $63,000. Like 60, how much was it again, Barney?
$63,554.
That's a lot of money. We've only gotten like $20.
I mean, according to their math, that'd be like what, 12 suspects?
I mean, yeah, that'd be something like that. Let me get my out.
And also, I love that they breezed past earlier when she's like on his deathbed. He's like, "I want you to write down this one name. That's where you start." And I wanted to be there with a moment where she like immediately was like, "Oh shit, this one's not."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh wow, this one's gonna be it." But you know what?
She didn't give me a second one, so I guess we'll just open the binder.
Wow. You know what? Let's just tell everybody it costs $5,000 per person.
Right.
All right,
$5,000 a head. If someone's been donating money, you know.
Oh my God, yeah, that's about 13 people. It's about 12.7 that they could have been. And that means there's at least 12 people they've investigated in 5 years at the account of them spending $5,000. You know what? Honestly, it sounds to me like Bobby.
Yeah.
So, GoFundMe, right? That's what it's on. Mm-hmm. There's different rules for GoFundMe than for something like, let's say like, oh, you were hired to do something. You know?
Oh, like charitable?
Yeah. Or maybe like, you know, hey, appear in this podcast or appear in this thing. Tell them you're doing a podcast.
Oh, if you don't deliver?
Don't deliver. But like, if you do the podcast, you know, release the episodes just around the same time we're doing this marketing push with the release of the special, which apparently took like a year.
Make the podcast real. Yeah.
Make the podcast real. Just like we had your mom sit in front of all these big giant
It's a total of
books.
like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Casey Mara, or whatever their mom's name is, she don't have a room in her house with all those big giant law books. But they do that to make it look like, oh, she knows the law. She knows the ins and the outs. She's Lou Smit's abandoned daughter.
She's someone you can't question.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't question.
You shouldn't be questioning her. She's got blonde hair and her daughter's got blue eyes too. How dare you?
Right.
You know, who do you think you are, Trayvon Martin? So it's one of those things where they go ahead and they create this illusion, and they also know that people are going to watch that special, so they're going to go to GoFundMe or they may whatever. But it's like,
still making bank, and they're not.
Who's auditing? Who's auditing? Even with a nonprofit, you have to provide like where the money's going. Nobody audits a GoFundMe, and it makes me wonder if this was almost a circumvention kind of route for them to get paid for them to do their services
Publicly.
To put out that opinion.
You got people four anonymous people paying $40,000.
Well, and it's a thing of maybe it's still unknowingly too, because maybe it's like a don't give up type thing. Like, even it's like it's, hey, I heard she's not doing much. Like John's getting word back, they're not doing much. Well, let's give like 10,000. Show them people care, and then we need you to publicly be doing this without
and that's the thing. It's either we got to believe the Smits were all born yesterday, or that they are a name and a close accomplice in the whole storyline of there even being an intruder theory and continuing that. And Lou Smit's dead, so they got to continue, like, just to make it go like, oh, the intruder theory is still so strong.
But even like at the beginning of this episode, you like knocked out all the reasons like why he was going on that thing.
Well, because once those all got those all got knocked out though over the years though, then it just turned to his giant list of his book of suspects.
His, like hitman, like I mean,
his book of
like the fucking
suspects.
People. But get this, none of them are the person because it's not true.
Yeah. That's and
also just like how ABC is willing to just go not ABC, but that one documentary where it was like, and once the DNA cleared the Ramseys, it's like the finger, like no.
That wasn't even the setup for that. Come on, like just because
who's writing
this
script?
Lou didn't get to see them get exonerated. I don't really care. But I listened to all 3 episodes. Episode 1 is like 15 minutes, not that long. Episode 2. That was the one that was really upsetting to me. They played this whole game of like basically like, is this like myth, a fact kind of thing.
Like Mythbusters,
where they're like deciding like we're the ones we already did the research,
and they're like myth or fact. Patsy wrote the note, and they're like basically no, that's a myth.
Wow.
It's a myth. That she was like handwriting experts said that she didn't write the note, and it's like number one, that is not true.
Let's ask the audience.
They couldn't, they couldn't determine they couldn't rule her out.
Her letter, they couldn't even rule her out.
But they just go ahead and do that with that.
Oh wow,
then they bring up the other thing is someone couldn't fit through the window. They're like, that's a myth because granddad did that kind of thing. It's like, okay. But again, as I've said earlier, I don't think anyone was really publicly touting that as a huge thing. And yes, cool, you fit through it. That doesn't explain again.
But also when your evidence is based off of a photo that after the cops opened the window, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not about whether you can fit in it or not. It's about how was the window opened if it was opened. And you guys are going off of something that the criminal didn't necessarily do. Yeah.
Right.
And then there's stuff that they start to dance around that's very upsetting to me.
Dancing in the victim's shoes. So they're wearing these tiny little 6-year-old shoes.
Because an important part of the case that Lou Smit focused on and also that they focused on is the suitcase. The suitcase left under the window.
Oh, that's right. That suitcase that had the cum towel.
Yeah.
So here's Cindy Mara on Dr. Oz talking about the suitcase.
There's a suitcase, right, that's found by the window. It becomes even more significant. Yes, it's possible they may have stepped out of the house using that suitcase. Cindy, what did your dad find in this suitcase?
There was a duvet and a sham that was found in the suitcase. And they found that there were fibers from the duvet and sham on JonBenét's body, on her shirt, on the front and back of her shirt, on her wrist ligatures, and in the body bag. So that led him to believe that JonBenet had been put in that suitcase possibly to get her out of that window. And that's how they were going to do it.
Interesting theory.
Very interesting.
Interesting theory about it. But that is true. And that's the thing. That's always kind of bothered me too with the fibers in the suitcase. Like, how does that get on there? And we all know, again, what they left out, again, was in the suitcase.
Yeah.
Was the Dr. Seuss book, All the Places You'll Go. And that's it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
There was also cum. There was cum on that sham or the duvet or whatever.
Hot loads.
And again, one of those was, so again, that could have been, placed in there after, like her body, it clearly could have just touched her body and then been placed in the suitcase. Doesn't mean she was put in the suitcase.
Right.
Either way, still suspicious.
It is interesting.
So here is the victim's shoes, again on the same topic, using Lou Smit's words.
Directly beneath the window was a suitcase. The suitcase was originally flat against the wall underneath the window before Fleet White moved it. There was a tiny piece of glass found on top of the suitcase, as well as a very faint impression that looked very similar to a shoe print. And could the glass have been from the broken window? Probably. And inside the suitcase, there was a sham, a duvet, and a Dr. Seuss book. Fibers from the sham and the duvet were found on JonBenét's shirt, her body, duct tape from her mouth, the hand ligature, and the body bag, which led our grandpa to believe that this originally was intended to be a kidnapping, that the intruder tried to carry JonBenet out of the house in the suitcase, but that something went wrong.
Found in his suitcase is a sham and a duvet, and they're made out of certain material, and a Dr. Seuss book is found in there also. Now that suitcase does belong to John Ramsey's son, John Andrew Jr., the one that was in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, maybe he tried to kidnap her, but they got him definitely in Atlanta that night at an ATM machine with his picture withdrawing something, and there's no way he could have moved. But it is his suitcase, and it had been in another room in that house prior to it being in the basement. But Sherry Murphy is a CBI examiner who examines all hairs and fibers when you're sending in. So they sent in the fibers from JonBenét's clothing and also the fibers from these particular items in the suitcase. Fibers from the sham and duvet were found on the shirt, front and back of JonBenet, outside. On the body, in the vaginal area, on the duct tape from her mouth, on the hand ligatures, and inside the body bag they found a couple of these same fibers. So what it is that the material inside that suitcase is found on the outside of JonBenét's clothing, which leads to a logical type of conclusion. Either he tried to put JonBenet in a suitcase to take her out, or he took the stuff outside the suitcase and laid her on it, because how else would you get the fibers from that material on the outside of the clothing?
So let's break that down. First,
yeah, I'm confused, Bobby.
First, I want to point out too, because this is interesting, that he says that the suitcase was moved from another room. Okay. He says we know that.
We know.
So
that.
It means that what room though?
What room?
What room? Was it in the guest room with the other suitcases, which is John Andrews' room, by the way?
Oh.
How would they have not heard that kind of thing if it was being moved from there? Because that's where they were. But he's saying we know it was moved. So,
matter of fact, like we know.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing that they gloss over too is that room, that guest bedroom, is so fucking disheveled, as if somebody was leaving in a hurry, kind of thing. At John Andrews' room, there's those drawers all open. There's, that's that room with the rope in that they couldn't tie back to anybody, that Lou Smit also always focuses in but doesn't ever think about John Andrew.
He never talks about John Andrew.
And then that leads to, again, the actual exoneration of John Andrew, supposedly.
From that ATM photo.
Footage. So that's what it finally was. It was an ATM photo.
Wait, okay, and it's like this was Atlanta.
Imagine like you got the money in the fixes, and it's like, say these cell phone records that they're missing from those midnight hours is, hey, my boy fucked up. We got a plane. How fast can you get to fucking Atlanta? What if it's a thing your fixer's like, make sure he goes to an ATM machine, withdraws this money kind of thing.
Right?
I want to see the timestamps on the ATM machine.
And we've never been shown that video. And also, this is the 90s where the cameras, even cameras now on camera phones and stuff are not great when you gotta like zoom in and stuff. But think about like surveillance footage and stuff or anything in the 90s.
Somebody looks like him using his card. I got a card in Atlanta, go use that.
Yeah. And this photo that would never been shown. And also
ignoring the semen.
Yeah.
How can Lou Smit be so narrow-sighted to be continuously bring up this suitcase as a thing and be like, oh, her fibers, and it's like, okay, so we're talking that her fibers were on the cum towel.
Yeah.
So
on the cum blanket.
That's really important.
It is important.
That's the DNA.
We're looking for cum. We got cum. We're looking for sexual assault. You got sexual assault evidence right there.
Well, we're gonna talk about every other kind of DNA, including dino DNA, except about the DNA of the cum that's on the blanket, where the fibers are on JonBenét's body,
right?
In a suitcase that looks like from a suitcase from the other room that was John Andrew Ramsey's room.
That was left disheveled. So here's the one thing that I actually agree with Lou Smit on.
People say that there was only 4 people in the house that day. What the case tells me is that there's a 5th personality there. There's a 5th personality that is a very brutal, vicious personality that killed JonBenet.
A vicious, brutal 5th personality.
Right. And so that's why John Andrew Ramsey, that's next week.
John Andrew Ramsey. I gotta say something, Bobby.
Yeah.
How old was John Andrew Ramsey?
22.
He was 22. You know what age most people start college when they go to college? They're 18. You know, then they go to college for about 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did he graduate from college?
I'm not sure, actually.
Maybe when he's 22.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you get as like a graduation present sometimes? Even if...
the
places you'll go.
Oh, so it would have been fresh.
Oh my God, Teddy!
But no, he was still in the middle of his semester.
He could have been, or maybe he graduated early.
That's true. I believe he could have got it for high school. Yeah, I'd love
He
to.
should come on here and we can ask him questions.
But yeah, so deep dive next week into John Andrew Ramsey. We're coming for you.
You know, this week I was watching Dance Moms and digging my hand in a jar of olives. Next week I'm gonna be dancing in the victim's shoes and digging my fist into the jar of Ramsey.
He's gonna do some fisting, that's for sure.
It's gonna be hot and sticky and gonna feel like Nickelodeon slime. I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Uncle Bobby, that is so...
I mean, you know, this was really good, and honestly, it's interesting to see because I think honestly, we're at a point where we've already, you know, if you just joined our podcast, like get your shit together. Well, listen to the rest of it. We've already figured out that Patsy Ramsey wrote that letter. Okay, we've already figured out that window was, you know, John Ramsey was saying like it was broken in August or whatever that year, but it's also like then why are the glass pieces in this room that people go into all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then also there's like one little glass piece that's on this suitcase.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. No. And then it's like it's almost made to look like it just happened, or did it just happen? And they were trying to stage it, and like, oh look, it's on here.
And John even mentions that one time where it's like me and Fleet were looking around for more glass pieces on the floor. Like, okay,
What do you do? Pick it up? You're destroying evidence.
Well, that's this is the whole MO. Just like Lou Smit, they want a willing person along with them who it's like it makes them seem more genuine when it's got this person who believes in them that's also seeking the truth.
And to corroborate them and also just reinforce. I mean, these people are not dummies. They work with people places like Lockheed Martin. I got a question for when you do your research next week, Bobby. When John Andrew Ramsey came and arrived in a taxi like he's fucking Jonathan Taylor Thomas at the end of I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Oh yeah,
with
his sister and her fiance.
Yeah, right. Like, where did he have any luggage with him?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Or was he just in a little peacoat frock or whatever? You know,
it's a good thing
like,
they arrived.
I'm so glad I got here just now.
Just in time for the detectives to be like, "Oh, look, I'm here."
But Lou Smit says you can crawl out of a basement, and some people were saying that they saw a skinny little tall, young man silhouette. Some neighbors outside that house. It makes me almost wonder, like, was it like, okay, get the fuck out of here? And then they called the cops. And then it was like, Burke, don't say nothing. And then it was like John Andrew Ramsey.
Or he took a bike. Maybe that's my thing with the bike. Maybe it's like, hey, if you get on the bike, that's the trails leading out. Maybe it's like you get on a bike, you ride back to campus. Because the campus, by the way, is 4 blocks away.
It's 4 blocks away.
It's 4 blocks away. It's 4 blocks. They were surrounded by a college.
So he wasn't like living in no dorm.
No, but he could go back and forth, and that's the thing. He did
easily
have
go back and forth. So sometimes when he wanted to be on his own, you know, and then sometimes it's
maybe it's like get on your bike and ride back there. Maybe that's why that bike never showed back up.
Well, he would obviously be home for Christmas too. Like,
well, you'd think
that's what I would think.
But
I wouldn't think he would be in another state.
It seems to be that again, that's the thing though. That's not the corroborating evidence. It's that he was an ATM machine. So next week.
ATM machine from the airport. Like,
we're gonna look into it.
We're gonna look into it right now. But I gotta tell you that GoFundMe's a little suspicious too, and I encourage our listeners, go check out that GoFundMe.
Don't donate.
Do a list. No, don't donate. Donate to us, goddammit. But then, but just take a look and try, maybe do some research. Like, see if you can recognize any of those names. Tell us about it because it's a little suspicious. Like getting 4 anonymous donations of $10,000 each or something like that for a GoFundMe 5 years ago, where it's like, oh, 40,000. Like, this is people do a lot more for a lot less.
Yeah, they just need your likeness for a second, and like you saying what they want. Like,
just talk about your grandpa.
Oh, what a good episode, guys.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yes.
All right.
I liked it.
Well, I feel good about it. We'll see you guys next week then.
Yeah.
All right.
I may be here. I mean, it just depends on what I want to do.
All right.
I haven't decided yet. I'm master of my own destiny.
He's a free spirit.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm Bobby Pavlovsky.
Hey, and I'm Teddy Ronald Reagan. There's me.
And this is
JonBenet Today.
Why are we wasting all this time? We know what's gonna happen. Ashlyn's gonna have a meltdown. She's gonna blow it on the stage, and Min's perfect little soldier, Amina, is gonna pull out the win.